Okay, good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. This is the Sparks Planning Commission meeting of Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. Appreciate everyone being here in person and watching on Facebook and on Sparks Centennial TV. And it's great to have a full roster of the commissioners for tonight's meeting. With that, we'll move on to item number 2 on our agenda tonight, and that's roll call. Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Terry?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Blanco?
Here.
Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Fritzos?
Here.
Commissioner Vanderwell?
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick? Here. Assistant Community Services Director Colin Morales?
Here.
Great, thank you again for that. We'll move on to item number 3. This is public comment. This is an opportunity to provide a general public comment about anything on our agenda or not on our agenda. You have up to 3 minutes if you'd like to. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to provide a public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll close that public comment period and we'll bring it on to item number 4. That's approval of the agenda. I didn't have any requests from staff to make any changes, so the commission would like to make a motion on tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Vanderwell.
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve the agenda by
I'll second
Commissioner
it.
Vanderwell. We have a second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. The agenda is approved. Next up on our agenda is item number 5. That's approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes for the commission's consideration tonight. The first one is review and approval of the minutes from our September 3rd Planning Commission study session.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Vanderwell.
move to approve the minutes of the September 3rd, 2019 Planning Commission study session.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Vanderwell to approve the study session minutes. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion again by Commissioner Reed. Any comments, questions, or concerning the proposed motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Those meeting minutes are approved. Move on to our second set of meeting minutes, and these are the meeting minutes from our September 5th Planning Commission meeting.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the September 5th, 2019 Planning Commission minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Vanderwell. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a second by Commissioner Reed. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Those meeting minutes are carried. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 6. That's informational items.
Chairman Carey, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Armando Ornelas, the Assistant Community Services Director. This is just an announcement that we do have 2 of you whose terms are expiring at the end of the calendar year. Commissioner Phelan, who was termed out, and then Commissioner Vanderwall. So the city is accepting applications through November 29th. And obviously, Commissioner Vanderwall, you are more than welcome to reapply. But I wanted to make you aware of it, and then we will be looking, if possible, to ask the mayor to fill the seats prior to the end of the calendar year so that you have a full roster when we begin the year.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Armando. We'll move on to our public hearing portion of tonight's agenda. First up is PCN 18-0006. And that's the Kylie Ranch North Handbook Amendment. Welcome, Karen.
Good evening, Chairman Terry and Planning Commissioners. I'm Karen Melby, Development Service Manager. Let me start my PowerPoint here. Doing a little bit different tonight. I'm using PowerPoint to review the items on this. And we'll see. I'm having a little problem with the glasses here, so I'm going to take them off. Anyway, so the request before you today is an amendment to the proposed tentative handbook. It's to revise the exhibit 1-3, which is the master plan, and then also table 1-1, which is to comply with the comprehensive plan amendment. There's also changes to the floor area ratio and some other amendments. This is the vicinity map. It's outlined in red here. You'll see that Pyramid Highway kind of bisects the property, and then Sparks Boulevard dead ends into it. This is Pioneer Meadows here. This would be Lazy Five Regional Park. And then down here is Kylie South Plan Development. This property is a total of 874.2 acres, I believe, and it is zoned New Urban District. A brief background, this tentative handbook was originally approved in the year 2004. We reviewed an amendment in the year 2016 for the tentative. That's where we added 38 acres and some other changes to the handbook. The Planning Commission reviewed actually exactly to the year.
Yeah.
Last year, you reviewed a comp plan amendment to this, and then the City Council certified that comp plan amendment, changing the land uses in January of this year. The proposed changes to the handbook, again, as I stated, they're changing the land use map in the handbook, and I'll show you those in a minute. Changing the floor area ratios, and I'll discuss that in more detail. They're also adding warehousing and distribution as a permitted use in the business park land use designation, and updating the street network and infrastructure maps to be concurrent with what's been developed out there. This is a comparison of the approved. You'll see the approved handbook, the map in the handbook, tentative handbook on the left here, and then the proposed is on the right. Briefly, let me just go through the colors here because it's a little hard to read the legend. The yellows, the ranges of yellow here are the 4 residential districts. The red is the community commercial. On this map, this purple here is the village center. The approved handbook has 2 different business parks. One's office business park and one was BP. And then this is your arterial commercial. So on this map here, you can see that these parcels here were changed to the school. And this was actually a school site, 10 acres. And that's one of the big changes, is that they got rid of the 10-acre school site, and now they have 33 acres of school site because there's a middle school, and then this will be the elementary school, which is under construction. Part of the reason they also changed things, you can see we had some business park here, and they changed that because they didn't want to have isolated business park. It didn't make sense to have this isolated, and they also felt that they didn't want to have business park next to the schools. So that's part of the changes here. The proposed tentative handbook does not use the same nomenclature as the land use categories. They have their own names. So they're a little bit different, but they're equivalent to what we have in our comprehensive plan mapping. Next, I wanted to go through the land use table comparing the acreages between approved and proposed. Because I wanted you to be able to read the tables, I've split this table into 3 pieces so that you can read the numbers. So the first section that I was going to talk about is the residential. You can see in red, I showed here in red, the ones that are reduced. It's the low-medium residential. It's got a reduction of about 11 acres or 6.3%. And then also the high has been reduced. But our medium, which is 12 to 17, has gone up, and also the mixed. Overall, the residential has gone up in about 20 acres or 5.7% increase in the residential uses. And looking at the first half of the non-residential uses, looking at the commercial and the business park, you can see that the community commercial went down and business park went down. The mixed use went up because of the formerly being we used to have Village Center in there, and they got rid of that and just renamed it mixed use. So that acreage has gone up quite a bit. They're actually splitting. If you look at the map, you'll see a lot more village mixed use. There's in the analysis, they split that between a commercial use and also, because you'll see it also is listed here on the table, mixed use. So they've put 36 acres there and also 32 acres in the commercial side is what they're assuming with the development of the Kylie. So you can see community commercial went down 12.1%, business park went down 46.5%. The EPS study, which you were reviewed on the 23rd, concluded that the density is important for the city's fiscal health. But with the maximum number of units, which is 4,463, staff calculated the changes results in the residential density, increasing the densities would be 11.3 to 11.9 in the range, because these are density ranges. The non-residential uses proposed a minimum FARs, and I'll go into more detail that shortly. The last segment of the table, I broke it into three, is our non-residential, the school site. Obviously, because they eliminated that one school site, now they have two. That site has gone up by 22 acres, or 227%. So that's pretty big. The park is the same, because the other one, the approved tentative handbook from that was when they combined the two neighborhood parks into the community park. So that has not changed. The open space is relatively the same. So the overall, this segment of the table actually shows you that the acreages are the same. But overall, there's been a reduction of about 4.2%, or 18 acres overall in between all the land uses. Let's see. So this table is the FARs. This is taken from my staff report. And I've highlighted in here to just show you that in the approved handbook, they used maximum FARs. So that's why these are a little bit higher, and these are minimum FARs. The difference, as I said, is the maximum minimum. The master developer was very concerned when we met with them and went through this. They were very concerned that the higher FARs, the higher minimum FARs, would impair their ability to attract businesses to their non-residential land uses. The proposed minimum FARs represent a compromise. So the ones that we're proposing here are a compromise that we worked out with the master developer. And they represent, we did a study looking at typical FARs as development within the region, recent development within the Truckee Meadows. And these represent what's been developed recently in the area. There also is in the handbook on page 1-30 is criteria implementing these FARs. So for example, if you wanted to build first the pad out, like a fast food restaurant, you wanted to build a pad first, that would never meet the FARs for the project site. So in the handbook, we allow that as long as the master developer can guarantee that with the whole development of that project site, that it would meet the minimum FARs. The other thing to understand is that the FARs cannot be transferred between land uses. So this 0.25 has to stay within the community commercial. It can't be transferred to the other land uses, like the business park. So they can't balance it out through this whole Kylie North. They have to keep it within the land uses. As I mentioned in the beginning, they've added a new land use, warehousing and distribution. There is a footnote to that table on the table for land uses that says that the maximum of any building can be 200,000 square feet, and staff supports this based on the EPS. The EPS found that the city of Sparks lacks sufficient land designations for industrial uses to satisfy the forecasted needs for the city over the next 20 years. Based on the EPS conclusions, city staff concurs that with the request to add this land use. This request will provide additional land use type in the industrial area. But to remember also, office is still a permitted use within the business park. To briefly discuss the fiscal impact analysis, the fiscal impact analysis that was submitted to us dated September 2019 estimates an overall positive fiscal impact of approximately $10.8 million over the 10-year analysis period. With the estimated revenue surplus of $35.9 million for the general fund and an estimated $25.1 million deficit to the city road fund, so that 10.8 is the difference between those. EPS concluded that no one land use if increase or decrease would greatly change the city's fiscal condition. The most significant land use change would be the 46.5 in the business park, which generates little or no revenue. But part of that reason is, or a portion of that was because of the two school sites, which schools don't generate revenue for the city, or very little. So with the reduction in the business park which does represent a significant change, it's our feeling that, or staff's feeling, that the FAR would still keep that pretty close to being, within a range of each other. The EPS advises a balance between employment-generating land uses and residential development, which is needed to support fiscal health. The jobs to housing balances, which I'll go into a little bit more in a minute, is 5.7 to 1, which nearly equates to what was approved under the 2019 Comp Plan Amendment and also the original tentative handbook. Reviewing the findings, the first finding, PDA, the Kiley proposed tentative handbook does meet the goals of providing orderly and quality development through their standards. The guiding principles in there are that there's efficient land use, economic sustainability, descent of place and neighborhood. Staff feels that that's supported by the standards in the handbook, and then also is consistent with the goals of providing open space, a variety in housing type, and also a mix of land uses. When the original Kiley Ranch North handbook was approved, the estimated ratio of job housing was 1.6 to 1.0. This proposal is 1.57 to 1. Staff feels that that's not a significant change and that we support that. Just as a side note, that in the fiscal impact analysis, the estimated job housing balances is 1.01 to 1. Regarding finding PDB, that's kind of hard to say. The proposed residential densities that are in the handbook, which is 4 dwelling units to 23.9, is consistent with the Sparks Municipal Code. The next one, the non-residential uses, they do not have any heavy industrial in their handbook or cannabis uses, which are permitted in some places in Title 20. However, this is in keeping, what they're proposing is in keeping with the visions for the Kiley Ranch handbook. The last item that staff wanted to identify was the maximum building height in the handbook is 170 feet, and this is for the is only for the medical campus. The only category in our Sparks Municipal Code, zoning code, is there is no height limit for tourist commercial. But other than that, so staff feels that that's being met, that we don't see an issue with that. PD finding C, which is the ratio of residential to non-residential. The approved handbook has a ratio of 40.6% to non-residential of 49.4%, and the proposed handbook has a residential of 42.9% to non-residential at 47.3%. Staff does not feel that this is a substantial change in the ratio and supports the amendment. The next finding, which is PD not D, this handbook, this one's regarding common open space, and so they have combined the common open space, the future streetscapes. They also have a system of network of trails, and then including all the project landscaping. This would comply with the 20% requirement for open space. The handbook does address the open space and how it would be maintained and by whom. PD finding E does provide for design standards to ensure that there's access to air, light, recreation, and also visual enjoyment. As I stated, there's now a community park, and they also have a whole system of network of trails, including regional trails along some of the open space on the eastern side and then also along the Ore Ditch. The infrastructure plans have been updated to reflect what's been developed out there already and some changes in the street, which includes now connecting what used to be called Lazy 5 is now Wingfield Hills. That's going to be connected all the way over from Pyramid to Vista Boulevard. So that's been reflected as one of the changes in the handbook. The next finding is PDF, and being one of the largest, Kylie being one of the largest planned developments in Sparks, its build out is important to the future of the city. Kylie Ranch is designed to provide a variety of housing options. It also has retail and services, medical facilities, and also a variety of employment opportunities supporting that finding. And then G, which is actually the last finding, PDG, the proposed tentative handbook maintains the integrity of the plan by retaining a large majority of the land uses that were in the original approved handbook in 2004, while addressing the actual and anticipated changes and opportunities that have arisen since Kylie was originally approved and prior to the Great Depression, a recession, I'm sorry. It was a depression for most of us, but it was actually a recession. It also retains the majority of the development standards that were in the approved in the original 2004 handbook. It addresses actual and anticipated changes. So like it addresses now the school sites that are being under construction, things like that, the change in the street for Wingfield Hills. It has standards that regulate the character and development and quality for the whole project, and it provides community facilities and utility plans, which a lot of it's already constructed, a good majority of it. So based on that, staff believes that all 7 findings can be made, and we're recommending approval of the amendments to the tentative handbook for Kylie Ranch North Plan Development. That concludes my presentation. I'll be available for any questions. Also, the applicant and the preparer of the fiscal impact analysis is here.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Thanks for your presentation. Does the applicant's representative wish to make a presentation?
Good evening. For the record, Mike Raley with Christie Corporation and CAM2 Development. We are in agreement with the staff report. I think Karen did a good job outlining. I know that's a lot to absorb, but she did a great job going through everything, so we're just here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you for that. I think because of the complexity of this handbook amendment, before we open up the public hearing, I want to turn over to the commission if there are any kind of technical questions for staff on what we're reviewing, or any technical questions for the fiscal impact study or the handbook amendment. Are there any technical questions from the commission? Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, at this time, I will open up the public hearing on PCN 18-0006 for Kylie Ranch North Plan Development Handbook Amendment. Do any members of the public wish to make a comment on this agenda item tonight? I didn't receive any comment cards. Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. We'll bring this back to the commission for discussion and possible action. Are there any questions from the commission on this one? I'll jump in. I had a couple for staff and a couple for the applicant as well too. Karen, in terms of procedure, I was just kind of curious, if this proposed handbook amendment goes through tonight, would we have to revise the 9 other handbooks that have been recorded for Kylie Ranch North?
We will have to revise several of the final handbooks, but at this point, Mike and I were just talking before the meeting that we're going to have to get together and figure out which ones will have to be amended. At this point, I know for sure some of them will have to, but at this point, we don't know for sure how many. That's why I put in my staff report several.
And it's probably the ones that would be affected by the
The
land
one
use
I know for
changes.
sure would be Phase 5, which is the business park one,
Okay,
for sure.
and we may be seeing
And
this.
then they wanted to add some areas to Phase 3, which is the arterial commercial. They wanted to add some more pieces. If you look at the map, you'll see that they have added these pieces as arterial commercial. So I know we've talked about that
Yeah.
would be an amendment to that handbook too.
Okay. My other question was, what mechanisms are in place for the city if these minimum floor area ratios that are proposed in the handbook aren't met?
Well, at this point, they'd have to be incorporated into the final development handbooks. So it's anticipated that the standards that are in this proposed tentative handbook will then be implemented into the final handbooks, because that, you can't actually do any construction under the tentative handbooks, it's under the final. So, but the mechanism is that it's that whole verbiage that's on the page 1-30 in the handbook, the criteria that establishes. I think there's like 6 criteria for which we would not approve anymore unless they can demonstrate to us that they can meet the minimum at the overall of the site. We wouldn't approve any more projects till they can demonstrate that to us.
And thank you for bringing up that page, and I think that's important to kind of put on the record. Because we haven't really seen floor area ratios to this effect or any of our handbooks with a minimum standard. This is kind of a new approach, right?
Well, if you remember when we reviewed the comp plan amendment, we were a little concerned about them reducing their area, particularly your non-residential areas. And so what we had said was that we wanted to make sure that we had FARs that would keep it within the range of what was originally approved in the, because with a maximum FAR, it's very hard to predict what's going to be built.
Yeah, you just have a limit.
I mean, you could come in with 1% or you could come in with the top maximum. So it's very hard to predict. With a minimum, at least we can do some prediction of what's anticipated to be developed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Were there any other questions for staff or the applicant? I had one for the applicant, if the commission would indulge me. Mike, my question was a number of jobs that are projected in the fiscal impacts analysis, and 7,000 jobs. It's quite a lot of jobs. I'm just curious if.
That was my estimate.
Yeah, and I think perhaps it was a little bit. Anyway, tons of jobs coming. With the, I'm curious, with the minimum floor area ratio standards and the employment projections, would they be able to be met if the medical campus proposed in the handbook doesn't go through?
My short answer to that is yes. We looked at that. And as Karen mentioned, there was a lot of negotiation. We had concerns that if that medical campus for some reason was delayed, would that hold up other areas of the project? And the FARs that we agreed to, we're confident we can meet those regardless of whether or not the campus comes forward.
Okay. Thank you for that. Armando, please.
Armando Ornelas, Assistant Community Services Director. So I think that speaks to the difference between the applicant's fiscal impact analysis and the estimates generated by your staff. On the staff side, we tried to employ the same approach to estimating jobs that was used for the original handbook, so that we would have a sort of an apples to apples comparison. But it reflects a hospital. The lower figure calculated or projected by the fiscal impact analysis, I think, is based on the approach that Mr. Raley is discussing, where it's really truly based on the minimum FARs.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, Commission, I promise I'm done with questions. Are there any other questions from the Commission on this item? The Commission care to take action?
I'd like to make a motion.
Commissioner Blako.
I move to forward to the City Council a recommendation to approve amendments to the tentative development handbook for the Kylie Ranch North Plan development associated with PCN 18-0006, adopting findings PDA through PDG and the facts supporting those findings as set forth in the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Blako. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second on the motion? We have a second by Commissioner Pristos. Okay, any discussion, comments, questions concerning the motion? Before we vote, I had just a couple comments for the record. Certainly appreciate staff's work on this one. It's kind of nice to be able to jump right into the fiscal impact, the EPS study that we looked at last week. You know, Kylie Ranch North, I said this before, I think it's a very important development for the fiscal impact of the city and also for quality of life in North Sparks. And I concur with staff's approach on this handbook amendment to go with the minimum floor area ratios as opposed to the maximum. I think that helps, gives the city a mechanism to kind of get there, get the jobs and land uses that we wanted out there. I'm a little concerned, and I said it last year when we saw the land use changes about losing the amount of business park and other land uses. And I think there's potential with this allowing the manufacturing and warehousing within the development to kind of, that those job creations or those job projections will come in low. But I hope I'm wrong. I don't see any reason to not make any of the findings that are in the staff report. I just kind of wanted to put out there that the number of jobs and the land uses that are in Kylie Ranch North are huge for our fiscal future. And I like the minimum approach, and I hope that we can work together and continue to build out this development moving forward, and it helps meet the intent of this handbook. Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments before the vote? We have a motion to approve. Okay, all those in favor, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Karen. So that concludes our public hearing portion of the agenda. We'll now move on to general business. First up is PCN 04051. This is architectural elevations, Miramonte Phase 5. Welcome, Danny.
Good evening, Chair Carey and members of the Planning Commission. I am Danny Ray, Planner 1. The applicant here is requesting Planning Commission approval for single-family architectural elevations for the 86-lot Miramonte Phase B. It's this area right up here outlined in red. Subdivision is required by the handbook and the condition 24 of the Miramonte tentative map. The planned development is 53.74 acres, generally located northeast of Desert Highlands, east of the Vistas, and south of Wingfield Springs. Maximum density for the site is 4.1 single-family dwelling units per acre, and the zoning is SF7 for this project. The single-family homes in the Miramonte development are subject to development standards from the handbook that pertain only to setbacks, heights, density, and lot coverage. The handbook itself does not contain any architectural standards or guidelines, and instead requires the application of design standards found in the Sparks Municipal Code 20.02.004 and approval of the elevations by the Planning Commission. The proposed elevations comply with the development standards in the handbook and the code as all required. Let's see if I can get the next one. Oops. There we go. I've added just a few of the elevations here. This is for 2 stories and 1 story. And on this one, this is the only elevation in all permutations that they offer, which is 6 floor plans, 3 of them 1 story, 3 of them 2 story, and each one of those has up to 3 different elevations, quite a lot. This one right here, though, on page 10 is Plan 2A, exterior elevations on the left side, is the only one that doesn't appear to have any significant articulation, color design, anything. So this is something staff will be working with the applicant for on this one only. Okay. Building walls are articulated by both color and plane, as you see on here, as well as height and materials on all exterior sides, with the exception of that left elevation on 2A. Staff is recommending the additional articulation on that one. Garages use varying placement and setbacks from the front of the buildings and to create visual interest. And the entrances are set back or forward, move to the right and left, creating quite a bit of variation in this 86 lot development. Enhanced architecture is required by the handbook for corner units. And this is kind of turned on its side from the other map you've seen. So it's this area here, as the cursor is moving along, that is this project. And the lots that are in red are corner lots that required enhanced architecture. And the blue are the ones that are subject to the 20% requirement, that 20% of those homes have enhanced architecture because they face the open space. As it turns out, all of the elevations on all four sides do apply enhanced architecture as it stands. And it's also a requirement of the Sparks Municipal Code, 20.02.004C3, that all four sides, that the architectural character of the front of the home be applied to all elevations. So the project does comply with that handbook requirement. So of the 86 lots in the proposed subdivision, 8 are corner lots and 15 meet the 20% guidelines. But again, they all satisfy the requirement. So it is the opinion of staff that this project's architecture and facade treatments meet or exceed both the handbook and the Sparks Municipal Code requirements. And this concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Danny. Does the commission have any questions for staff on this item? Okay. Would the commission care to take action on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Blanco.
I move to approve the architectural elevations with corrections to the elevation of Plan 2A for the 86 lot Miramonte Phase 5B residential subdivision in fulfillment of the Miramonte Plan Development Handbook and condition number 24 of the Miramonte tentative map.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Blanco. Made a
Second.
motion to approve. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Vanderwell. Any discussion, questions, comments concerning the motion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. Nay. Or opposed, say nay. Nay. And then, so the ayes carry it. The motion carries unanimously for the record. Sorry for our friends that are typing these meeting minutes up, just to clear that up. Okay, thank you very much, Danny. We'll move on to our agenda. We have, first up is a selection of a commissioner to serve on regional planning to fill the remainder of a term effective immediately and through June 30th. The selection is to be made from the following candidates: Commissioner Blanco, Commissioner Carey, Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Pristos, and Commissioner Reed. This, I believe, was to fill Commissioner Peterson's seat from his resignation. We had a little bit of a hiccup at the last month's meeting with the list of candidates. Would the commission care to make a motion on this one?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Vanderwell.
I move to appoint Commissioner Reed to fulfill the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint Commissioner Reed to regional planning. There was a second by Commissioner Blanco on that one. Thank you, Commissioner Vanderwell. Thank you, Commissioner Blanco. Any comments or questions, discussion concerning the motion? I would just like to say thank you, Commissioner Reed, for filling in this month on regional planning. I know it was a pretty important meeting with the regional plan update going well, and I think you'll do a great job as our regular appointment. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Any other comments, before the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item number 10. This is a selection of a commissioner to fill it's up to 2 alternate seats. Okay, so we have 2 alternate seats to regional planning. So the pool of candidates would be Commissioner Blako, Commissioner Carey, Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Pristos, and Commissioner Reed we just appointed to the regular term, so that she would be ineligible to be a alternate as well as a regular. So we have a first alternate and a second alternate, and both, I believe, are currently vacant.
Chairman Carey, we will have 2 alternates now because Commissioner Reed was an alternate.
Correct.
So
Yes.
now we do have 2
Okay,
open spots.
so we need to appoint 2 tonight.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Vanderwell.
I move for alternate seats, Commissioner Blako for the first alternate, and then you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Carey for the second alternate for regional planning.
Okay. Is there so we have a motion by Commissioner Vanderwelt. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Reed. Question for legal. Can we take both appointments in one motion? Or would you prefer to break it out?
But thanks.
I believe you can, given how the motion was stated.
Okay.
So however you would like to proceed.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So we had a motion to approve to appoint Commissioner Blako as the first alternate, myself as the second alternate for regional planning. Any comments, questions, discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to item number 11. This is public comment. This is our final public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience who'd wish to make a general public comment at this time? There's no public, so we won't have any public comment. Close that public comment period. We'll bring it back to the comments from the commissioners. Do the commissioners have any questions
Mr.
or
Chair.
comments? Mr.
Chair.
Vanderwell.
Yes, I have a comment. I would just like to share with the rest of the commission that the regional plan update for 2019 was unanimously approved by Regional Planning Commission last Friday, and that it will be forwarded to the Regional Governing Board to vote on it October 10th.
Great, thanks for that update and for all your work, and then all of our commissioners' work on that. That's a big one. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to adjournment. I'll call this meeting adjourned at 6:43 PM. Thank you, everyone.